Yeah, let's see what we got here.
Stream is
Now,
live.
now we should be going. So, what do you think about the managerial moves you've seen, Mr. Fisher?
Isn't that something? I mean, I'm a huge Stephen Vogt fan. We've gone back and forth, and of course, seen him just be an absolute, folk hero in Oakland. But it's interesting; these guys get thrown into the fire. It's like here's your job and no experience, and let's see how it goes with a fabled franchise on its own. So it's interesting.
They
You're
might need
walking in behind
codified math.
Francona. Yeah. Well, that's been discussed. We'll see how that goes now.
Yeah, I mean, why
He
not?
might be in
Let's
the
help.
dugout
Let's
calling
help
him.
him win.
I would love that.
Yeah, I do think it's strange. Like, you get a lot of recycled guys, and then you get these guys that are just being thrown in. First gig.
Yeah, I'm still a little dumbfounded. I guess I was raised that if you had a manager under contract that you liked and someone asked to interview him, you would either tell him to piss off, or if you did, you're like, look, dude, you guys are gonna have to trade something to us, And then you watch Bob Melvin, the A's just give him away, and then the Padres just did it, I guess. So I haven't heard of anything going back to his former teams on either move. So it's interesting.
Yeah, Jay's saying, "Yo, Jay,
Yo,
what's up? Yo, what's up, Jay?" We're here to talk baseball. We're going to talk about all sorts of things that y'all want to talk about or that we want to talk about. Your call. Anybody wants to make comments, we'll probably let you jump to the front of the line. But otherwise, it's going to be maybe just us. We can
we
start.
got free agents to talk about. Yeah,
we do.
So is the biggest pitcher free agent this year a guy that won't pitch next year?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's certainly I mean, I definitely have Ohtani as,
right.
When he's healthy, the best of those guys. Yeah.
I think we were saying yesterday, it's like, okay, you got Yordan Alvarez, but with elite speed.
Yeah.
That's your hitter. I mean, it's those numbers with triples and steals. And then you got a guy that can, by the way, contend for awards when he's healthy. So,
yeah. And I don't know that I still don't know that when he's healthy, that there's anybody with as dirtiest stuff as Shohei. But I also don't know, like, we've gotten so good at the surgery. The second time's a little rougher. Any chance of Corbin Burns being traded to the Dodgers? Yeah, sure. There's a chance of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? That would be a really good fit for Corbin Burns too. He'd probably kill it. He's from out there, isn't he? I believe he is.
He went to school. He went to school out here. Yeah. Went to college at St. Mary's here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Love Corbin Burns.
Yeah. Oh, well, absolutely. He's definitely one of my favorite dudes. And the Dodgers definitely need to also remake that staff. And if they sign Shohei, it's still not going to help them next year. They need someone to throw it. I guess you have Nola. You have the trade of Burns potentially, which would be huge. And they have the pieces to give up. I mean, that could very well be something, right? I mean, you could trade some young starters. They have a lot that they could do. So I could see that.
I don't know how many people voted. It was 5,000-6,000 people or whatever, but I think 40% were saying they're thinking Ohtani to the Dodgers.
Yeah, that would be my
and guess. What's the chain reaction from that? If you can do that early enough, and you're talking to, I'm not going to say Yamamoto, but I mean, we're thinking Mets, but Dodgers are on the phone like, we just signed Shohei.
I don't see there's any reason why he can't. I mean, Shohei does a mean Yamamoto imitation. They're clearly friends, but I could see that. I do think, though, if I'm Cone, I pay whatever I need to pay to get Yamamoto on the team. As far as like having a core of Senga and Yamamoto, I think are just too tough to pass up. D-backs. What pitchers do you realistically expect the D-backs to acquire?
Isn't it a weird model now where you just saw 4 wildcard teams, march into the championship series. So you're like, wait, do I need to win 110 games?
No.
Does
you
it really
don't.
get me that much?
You
Or do
don't.
I not worry so much about my fourth and fifth starters and get some guys and load up at the front and build a team that can advance through the playoffs?
I'm pretty sure all you need to do is sign Will Smith and you're automatically
apparently
yeah,
so.
Yeah, I think that's
Right.
the way it works.
Right.
So I think that that I don't know, the D-backs,
Right.
they could are they going to be big in the market though? I mean, what do you think?
I haven't heard that. And
Yeah.
I've been down there plenty of times at that stadium and I look and I go, man, what if these guys spent? I mean, I know they're in a rough division, but it's just what could it turn into? And you saw how good they were this year, but spend some money, guys.
Yeah. And I think fought with a whole season behind him. If anything like he ended it up, that's Gallon's going to be Gallon. I think with Fought there is going to be really, they probably could add another piece. I don't know. That's going to be a big piece though. The Dodgers need help ASAP with their chemistry is interesting though, because I'm not sure. Like maybe they need a spark, but they have a good chemistry as far as like a team that I think Shohei fits into. That is a really good team for him because you have kind of low key superstars on it, and I think he's that type of guy. Him, Betts, Freeman, those are guys that I see him easily fitting in with.
Yeah, all year long watching the Dodgers, just thinking, what's going on? And then when the dust settled, I know they exited, but I mean, when the dust settled, it wasn't so bad. It's just you just expect 110 wins from that team.
Yeah. Is there a realistic chance the Red Sox will sign one of the top 4 arms? I hear a lot of stuff, a lot of rumors about them being very interested in Yamamoto. I don't know that I see that totally happening. But it's not impossible. Snell? Yeah, I don't think. Nola, I have a hard time.
Maybe.
Maybe. Montgomery potentially too, though. I can see that as a potential. I'd like to see them get somebody because baseball's better with a contending Red Sox team, as well as a contending. You found towards the end of the year, I think it seemed like everybody kind of soured on where the World Series are going, other than teams that were involved, and they were very good teams playing at a very high level. But it's always better when you have teams that you either hate or love in there, and having the Red Sox in there would definitely help. I think they need a lot. I mean, I think it's not a onesie twosie thing. Although Sale looked good, Bayo's definitely he's going to do this and keep improving, I think, but there's going to be ups and downs on it. Trevor Bauer returns. That I think there is a very, my instincts are there's a very good chance he returns. And what team would you think he would fit in? What team do you think could get him? I think we've talked about this. I know I have my thoughts on it.
I'll say I think it would be helpful for him to go to a team where he has an established, good relationship. Mookie came out and said positive things, someone that could vouch for guys that haven't been with him, that, because he gives a certain vibe off if you don't know him.
Yeah.
And there's all the things that have happened. It'd be good to have somebody kind of prep their teammates and vouch for them.
Yeah. I mean, my personal instincts are somebody like the Angels. He obviously grew up out there. It's a lower profile thing that needs some attention. I think that's what attracted Shohei, as well as, it's both the profile of it, as well as they were one of the teams that promised him he could pitch and hit, which now you think about it, how stupid was everybody to sit there and go we don't know if we're going to let you do it. You probably should have all done it. Bauer back to the Reds are a team. He liked the Reds, and that is not a terrible fit for him. I don't think it was just some teams were paying him more. But they fit that. I think it can't be a major It's not going to be the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees. I think it's just too controversial, even though again, whatever you think. As a lawyer, I look at it from legal sensibilities of it. And if you're looking at it from a legal point of view, there's not all that much there. But I know fan bases have their own ideas, and it'd be very controversial. So I think it would have to be a market that needs that bump, that won't constantly write about it every day and deal with it. So that's why I was thinking the Angels, but the Reds are a possibility too. That does fit. Yeah, the Yankees, Cole and Bauer, that's not happening. That breaks a couple of the things we just talked about. I think the market probably isn't a great fit for him, and the fighting in the clubhouse, would be fun and bring you back to the times when the Yankees were fighting in the clubhouse regularly. I'm sure they're grown-ups, but I also think that they're bound to have crap happen. I mean, you saw rumors with Scherzer and Verlander on the same team that they didn't necessarily get along tremendously, and Cole and Bauer have an existing history. Yeah, I think that it'd be fun though. I mean, I was laughing, but you had the Reggie Jackson, Thurman Munson thing back in the day, which was
right, but that was built on strife, right?
Yeah,
I mean
do you want the Yankees to have strife? That's what New York thrives on. New York thrives on strife.
Hey, we weren't saying we didn't want to see it. We were just saying it wouldn't work if you're the Yankees. That's all.
Yeah,
we want to.
I just don't think it'll happen, but it would be fun, like in like a professional wrestling type of way.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm curious. I'll ask my own question of us, but I mean, what can Bauer command in a contract, and given what's happening, his performance over there and all that.
He did pretty well. I think he's older than he was. I don't know. I think you can get him. I don't want to put a number on it. I don't know. I might be talking out my ass. But is it impossible to see him getting $10 to $15 million on a contract, on a 1-year deal?
No, that's not impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, you see what some of these other guys are getting. No names, but
yeah. I mean, he's going to, the thing I can tell you about his baseball ability is he revolutionized pitching to a large extent, and he doesn't. I think folks, his personality kind of drowned a little bit of that out, but he also has a personality that was bucking the system, and it came back to buck him back. But part of the reason why he's good is he was bucking the system. He didn't listen to what everybody was saying about extreme long toss, weighted balls, all the other training stuff he did. He brought a lot of things to baseball that everybody uses now, and it was because of him. So
or doesn't use now. I think of him immediately when I think about the sticky stuff, and everyone knew what was happening, but he was extremely vocal, and he's like, "Look, if you're gonna let me do this,
yeah." So you're saying you're not going to crack down on it. I'm going to do that because I know everybody else is doing that.
Right.
I'm all in for Yankees drama. Yeah, I can see that. Under the radar trade targets. So I want to start at if you're looking at the top pitchers in the market, do you like Nola or Yamamoto better?
If you're asking me, it's Yamamoto. It's not close.
Interesting. Because I would not disagree with you at all.
If Yamamoto was 31,
right,
I wouldn't be jumping all over. The dude's 25. He's put up those numbers there. Nola, staring at his numbers, no, it's Yamamoto for me.
Yeah, interesting, because you don't have any track record where you have Cy Young contending track record with Nola. You also have a year where he was not great during the regular season, great during the postseason.
Right.
He is a guy, I can see him fitting in with a number of teams. I wonder if the Phillies are going to do everything they can to keep him, though, too, because he does seem like, since he's been on the Phillies, it's kind of hard to see him somewhere else. But he also, the Braves, need somebody, too, because I don't think the Braves can go in with what they got again. I think they need to add another starting pitcher that is solid. And it's somebody like a Stroman, an interesting piece over there for the.
I wonder what the Cardinals are going to do. I could see Nola ended up there.
Yeah,
I don't know. What's he going to get? You look at last year, and it's just so blah. We had full confidence in him in the postseason. We were right, but getting there. It's just, you look at each game and you're just like, well, he gave up 4 runs or more, 15 starts or something like that. It's just not the guy that you're like, this is the second or third biggest free agent,
Yeah, but he did figure something out. So he made a mechanical adjustment towards the end of the year that he realized
right.
he was over rotating, and I think it fixed what he was doing. Obviously, it didn't. I mean, it helped him in the postseason. Then again, I also sometimes view those with a little bit. I mean, take those with a little bit of salt, because it's sometimes just a streak. Like, you go on good streaks and bad streaks, and you're like, oh yeah, it happened when I did this, and it's almost like a lucky horseshoe type thing.
Right. I put this leg in my pants first, so that's why I pitched well today. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how much I buy. I don't want to slide him. I love Aaron Nola, and I think he's very, very good. I just.
So what about Nola or Snell? And I see a Snell under $30 million. I love Blake Snell's stuff, and I do not consider what he did you can't be at me like a 2 Cy Young fluke spread out. Yes, he's had some bad years, but his stuff was ridiculous last year, and I don't think that stuff is. I think he just figured out more how to use it. Like, hey, I don't need to. It's the Rays structure. Like, the Rays have that, just throw it down the middle, let your stuff do the work. It was also you know what, just throw it. If they're going to eventually chase, they're not going to take it forever. And if you do, just make adjustments, get it in the zone, but don't give in. And that's what he did.
Yeah, no, I mean, guys figure out that they can mix pitches, and they're like, each pitch on its own is nasty. I don't need to over nibble. I don't need to do this. And I mean, pound for pound, it's Snell for me. Pound for pound, he's probably going to command a bit more money, but we'll see. It just depends on the team. Because
the 30 million number is that's probably about right, isn't it? Over under 30 is about where you set it, I think. Like, he's about that.
Yeah, he's the same age as Nola, so.
Yeah. And you would have Yamamoto as the best pitching prospect on the thing. I think especially with how Senga did.
Yeah. Well, certainly, if you want to say prospect, there's no one obviously anywhere near that age that's available to anyone. Yeah. So they're gonna stack the money up for him. If you ask me, Yamamoto, Snell quickly, I wouldn't have been so quick to.
Oh, interesting. So you would have Snell ahead of Nola too.
I'm not saying that. I'm just. Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Snell ahead of Nola. You asked me. Nola and Yamamoto.
The difference is, yeah. No, I was going like I was just seizing on your feelings on Snell.
Snell, because Snell is that run he had, it didn't get interrupted. We don't, we see guys come back the next year and they don't have, or whatever, but that was was it 20?
So you're not saying as a Jake Arrieta type, or?
Well, he was Jake Arrieta's best, which is the highest praise I think you can give someone. I mean,
Jake Arrieta's best is the best pitcher I've seen.
Yeah, and Snell put up. I mean, Arrieta was better. But Snell put up those numbers with slightly abbreviated outings.
Yeah. All right. Is there a pitcher currently in the league that is comparable to Yamamoto? And that is a great question, because I wrote an article calling Yamamoto the Pedro Martinez of Japan, and that's how highly I see him, because of his combination of command, good solid velocity, and just he can put everything where he wants, and they're nasty. So. He's probably more refined than Senga was. Like, Senga had command issues coming into the league, and then obviously with the ball size, it is a difference, and their texture of the ball is a little different too. Took Senga a little bit, and then Senga was outstanding. Like, he was inarguably the Mets ace, but is one of the aces in baseball. Had one of the best seasons, period. Last year, I'd love to see him get Cy Young votes. And I think Senga would say Yamamoto is better than he is. Like, I don't think Senga would ever say he wasn't.
I wouldn't think he would.
Yeah.
He shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing personal. I think Senga's
I love
great,
Senga.
But Yamamoto's on a different track for sure. Every guy's different when they come over. He may encounter unique, hurdles and all that, but holy moly, if you look at the other guys that came over and you look at what they did before they came and how old they were and all that stuff, it's like all the projections are insane.
Right. And if you look at comps, I was trying to find anybody that came over with similar comps. I mean, Tanaka's had some really good years before. He came over. Darvish obviously is a legend in Japan, but Yamamoto with his it's the full package. And watching him throw, there's just like he is going to be a force. He's I don't know that I have a comp. Who would
there's not a great one. The question is who's the most comparable, I guess, because I don't think there's a really good comp. I mean, he's got a pretty unique mix there.
He does. And he's about to get so to me, my instincts are seeing him on a team with Senga that can show him the ropes with an owner that's going to spend a ton of money. And then in New York, ad dollars being led by two absolute top tier Japanese stud pitchers. You see in Los Angeles, how excited fans were just for Shohei. But there's a lot that can go on when you have those two guys together, and Senga helping Yamamoto learn the ropes, helping that learning curve go up. I could not him on the Mets would be like must watch baseball, but I think there are other teams that are a good fit for him. Like every team in baseball, like the Dodgers would be a great fit for him too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's going to be someone who's going to spend a lot of money. It's a big investment to get him.
It is. And, certainly with pitchers, even more so, I'd be very wary as a GM. But this is one I think you're going to look back, odds are, and go, damn, we should have done a little bit more and got this guy, Yeah.
Is this because Shohei had no doubts when he came over on the pitching side. Everybody had doubts I think people had more doubts on the hitting side, and they were proven absolutely stupidly, just terribly wrong on that.
Right.
But there are literally people that said he was like a glorified high school bat. You could go back and read articles on that, and there are scouts that said that, he threw 100 over there. Yamamoto doesn't throw quite as hard. He's touched 99, but he's mostly 96, 97.
Right. So I'll ask you, if you don't mind, Yamamoto pitching in 2025 versus Ohtani pitching in 2025. Who do you think you'll like? And it's like the fact you're hesitating says volumes.
Yeah.
Because you don't hesitate with anybody else, really.
No.
Not many.
I view Yamamoto as again, if I'm talking about him in terms of Pedro Martinez, who I think we both decided was the peak best pitcher of all time. And again, I'm not calling him the best pitcher of all time when he gets to major leagues, but he is in the argument of best pitcher of all time in Japan. And we've seen what Japanese pitchers have done when they've come over here, and everybody's figuring out how to do it better. And I think he's going to tear it up, and his command and access to new data that he's going to have too. I think, it's just different view of him. I think he's going to be able to even get more out of his arsenal over here. It's going to be tough, and whatever team gets him should be very, very excited. He is a game changer to have. He's instantly signing an ace, and it's going to have to be someone that spends a shit ton of money.
A shit ton of
money.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. Snell gets a lefty premium as well. Absolutely.
Maybe not in Fenway, but
yeah, it is interesting. Where do you think, what's a good fit for Snell and
God, I don't know, man. Were you thinking the Padres a year ago, or you're thinking maybe these guys are going to do something, or the whole time you thought it was a train wreck?
I thought they were going to be good. I think I actually had them being good. Right. And there is this is the thing we miss a lot. You don't miss it, but there is a team personality thing. There are, it's just like when you work with jackasses or you work with people that are too chill and you can't, there's a whole bunch of dynamics that it's not like putting together a fantasy baseball team, because people actually have to play and have each other's back and take it with the right seriousness and all that stuff, or the right not seriousness for different people. And you saw that. I think the two teams that made it had different cultures, but they definitely had cultures. Two teams in the World Series. I thought the Phillies had a great culture too, actually.
Oh, yeah.
To give them some credit, they probably, I mean, you can make the argument they still were the best team in baseball last year. Even, I think when you saw them head to head versus the Braves, and you were like, personally, like as a guy who lives in Atlanta, I was sitting there going, I looked at their roster, looked at their pitching staff, and I was like, their pitching staff's better than the Braves at that point. They just were. It
If
wasn't
they'd
a
won it
fluke.
all, right? I wouldn't have been surprised if they won it all. They were
Yeah.
very, very strong postseason team.
Yeah, and a great playing personality. So there is something to be said about all that, and I don't think the Padres ever click to that level. And I don't,
No.
we can say
And now they're stepping back. They're letting guys walk away. They're
Yeah.
cutting back. They're chucking their manager. They're cutting all the way back.
Yeah.
Which is another place that's crazy, because I don't know if you've been to that park.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got to go. It's beautiful. It's right there downtown. Beautiful. If you stay at the Omni, you can like walk in the catwalk over to the ballpark. It's just, and the vibe is it's just amazing. And it's another place I thought these guys are going to take off.
Yeah.
They're loading up some talent. They're going to win enough to get out there. They made the NLCS last year. They're going to, nope.
I mean, at some point, and this is the thing that gets me, and some of the managerial moves are like snapping into my head, is that the managers of really talented teams don't get enough credit for keeping them motivated and keeping pushing the right buttons, and it's not easy to do. And people assume like you just get all the talent and then you're going to be the best team, but it's not that. It's not as easy as that. And I think you're seeing. Yeah.
Right. It's a lot different than I think I thought it was when I grew up, put it that way. It's not quite that way.
Because you can crunch the numbers on a fantasy team, get the right players and say, I need this, I need that, and pull it together. But it's more than that, because you're dealing with people. And it's just, you have to get the most out of people, just like being a manager of anything else. Like why would it be any different than being a manager or CEO of a company? To be CEO of a team or manager of a team every day. Like you should be viewing it that way.
You should. You look at Torey Lovullo, and like it was a little sad. I mean, he seemed a little overwhelmed. He felt overwhelmed, without judging his individual moves, but suddenly you're playing these games that are far more important than anything you've ever managed before. And it just, that's a tough thing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
For some, I mean, Dusty and Bochy are just like yawn and just, okay, it's another huge game, whatever. Didn't seem to bug them too much.
Yeah, exactly. And I think my man Brent Strom deserves some credit for the D-backs success. I think he loves like they may surprise and uncover something at them, because he's pretty good at finding undervalued assets that he just changed this and that, and he can visualize it. Just a really, really brilliant pitching dude. Do you think the Braves shouldn't? The Morton question. Like, I don't disagree with you on should the Braves and Charlie Morton at 20 million. That's about. I mean, at times he was really good this year. Like, I can't ever criticize Charlie, but can he keep doing it till he's like 45, 50? Should they spend their money somewhere else? Like, I could see, I don't know if Blake Snell, personality wise, maybe he is a good fit. I don't know. I would love to see him on that team. Like, they definitely need somebody similar of that character, of quality. It'd be really, adding that with Fried and Strider, and then having, that's the part that scared me going into postseason with them, with obviously Fried the blister stuff, Morton not being there, and having to rely on Elder, who I like in big doses. Like, I'm not dissing Elder, but I also think throwing him in the postseason is a tough task with his, I like my guys to throw a little harder.
Well, 20 million might sound like too much for a year of them, but look around. Look what other guys are getting. Look what Kyle Hendricks just got when they picked his up, and maybe not so bad. Especially line his number. Talk about his numbers versus Nola's last year.
Yeah,
I mean, he had better numbers. I
He
know
did.
it's not all about that, but
And
you talk
plus,
about
he has the experience of being a
personalities and
postseason pitcher.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Charlie Morton is a great piece to a lot of puzzles,
Right.
and I think the Braves particularly kind of are another team that thrives on a different culture. And I think Morton is kind of the steadying piece of that culture. And he's done that for other teams too. Like that's Charlie Morton. He's just a great dude. Not that Snell isn't. And they could sign like I wonder who they're going to go after. They have to. They kind of have to, unless they're going to like hope that like they can bring up Waldrop or somebody else in the minors and stick.
You think the Braves are?
Yeah, I think the Braves are going to go for somebody. They need some other piece.
Go grab Giolito on the cheap, man.
I think Giolito's a great piece.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely a great piece.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that can throw a lot of innings. I thought he underperformed last year vastly, so he may not get as much as you think. Or like, I mean, Stroh's an interesting piece too for folks. But I think Giolito you might be able to get relatively cheap because of his inconsistency last year.
Right, and he's 29.
Yeah,
I mean, he's one of the youngest decent pitchers out there, so
I'm still waiting for he was always like he's been like my sleeper Cy Young pick too. Like he's one of those guys that he's just itching to break out in that way, but it's always something that gets him. And he's a great dude.
Yeah, you suffer from the same thing I do. As you watch that guy pitch, and you're like, this guy's never going to give up a run. It just like looks like a pitcher. You know what I mean?
He does. He's he's like this force when he's on the mound. He's a really nice guy off the field, but on the field, he looks like he wants to kill you. I love that. Right. Any other pitcher that could have a breakout season, unexpected, like Steele. Now, if I said that, then then it would be unexpected. Right. That's a great question. Like,
we'd have to go through the list.
Yeah, like I would have projected someone like Cole Reagans, who I tweeted today. That would have been a hell of a projection. He looks like he's the best pitcher in the world right now, going into next year. If he can still leverage what he did, throwing 100 towards end of games and with his stuff, getting that year under his belt, like that's a guy who clearly could be really good. Is there anybody else who came up that could just or been like last couple years and maybe they're itching for a breakout? Why am I not? We'll think of it. We'll think of it as we're going. I think the Dodgers have
right.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them having a couple guys that could do that. Same thing with what about like the Mariners? I mean, I could see obviously someone like a Kirby being. I mean, I think Kirby's already at that level in my head, but he can be as good as anybody. Same thing with Gilbert as well.
That's a fun staff. I mean, they're all.
That is my favorite. Yeah, I said going into the postseason that was I was hoping they would make some noise, but they're my favorite pitching staff, just depth wise and a bunch of really good arms, really unique stuff, and they all challenge people in the zone, which I love. Does Hader break? I mean, somebody is going to spend a crap ton on Hader because he's Hader, and he's like at the end of games is a guy that you would absolutely want in there. Selfishly being in Atlanta, I'd love to see him in Atlanta, but I don't think that's probably where he'll end up. He's going to end up somewhere and make a lot. Yes, I think he will. I think he probably does break Diaz's contract record. Nick Pivetta is a good choice. Like he showed signs last year of when they put him in the reliever role, long relief, he started breaking out. Grayson Rodriguez is absolutely. I mean, I don't even think of him as a breakout guy. Like he's got as good a stuff as another guy, as good a stuff as anybody in baseball. Yeah, pissing. I know. Yeah, Matt Brash and the whole Seattle starters. You have absolute stud, brash, and if he dials in, his command is like, I mean, people. Didn't Rooker say that was like the most ridiculous slider to hit against? It was almost like not even a slider. He didn't even know what it was. Like it's impossible to hit. Michael King for the Yankees, absolutely. But I think he's already broken out because he had, what do you have, a 13K game, and God, that not having him start, it was like made me want to bang my head into a wall watching him once he did. Like, you're like, this guy, he's got absolute disgusting stuff. Michael King is fan freaking tastic. And I can't say enough good stuff about that guy. He's already broken out as far as I'm concerned. And if anybody's surprised by him having a ridiculous year last year, they shouldn't be. Like, you hear first, but not really. If you have eyes, you can see it. Mason Miller is already in my mind I'm looking for if somebody's saying like Justin Steele type, it's more under the radar, kind of the muddy fastball he's got. It's kind of unique. Mason Miller is a jaw-dropping dude that when I see him pitch and you see his best, you don't even understand how anybody could ever hit the guy. Like, I'm looking at these guys, they're not breakout guys for me because they're guys I already consider must-watch guys for me. Mason Miller is a must-watch guy for me.
I'm laughing at the Waldron one. Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. Matt Waldron is going to pitch every day with his knuckleball and have well under a 3 ERA and never walk anybody. It's going to be great. But
I mean, what would Wakefield make in this market? Like, if
probably
you
a shit ton. Yeah.
Right. Look, dude, I mean, give us league average, a little bit better, and throw a ton of innings and just soak it up for our team. Like, wildly valuable.
Sonny is a great piece. Sonny Gray is a great piece to a lot of puzzles. And again, I'm looking at the Braves. Are Braves a good place for him? That's kind of a good piece, but it's a good piece for a lot of teams like that. He could play in a lot of different places. He could be a Dodger too. The Dodgers are going to make some noise.
He gave up 8 home runs last year in the regular season.
He's also just the smartest pitching, like as far as pitching by feel, pitching artist, whatever you want to call it. He's brilliant. Yep. Yeah, he's a pitcher. He's a true pitcher. And another guy that's a very good piece. Is he an absolute? He could be he could be anywhere. It could be a 1, 2, 3. If you have him as a 3, you're gonna have a really good rotation though.
Happy birthday, Sonny. Tomorrow is his 34th birthday.
Oh, cool. So yeah, he's still got several years. And plus, I think he's a guy he'll age well, is my thought. He'll get the most out of whatever.
Okay, I can't say too much specific about Nick Martinez other than I love him. The guys like Martinez, or even I think of like a Sean Manaea, who I can talk more about, that are versatile and let a team use you as like a Swiss Army knife. Like, hey, you're going to start today. You're going to like that actually hurts the player in the long run, their versatility. And if you really look at Nick Martinez, I mean, they weren't going to give him $16 million, I guess, but someone's going to pay that guy. He's very, very good. Yeah. They'll be lining up. And
everybody's asking the Bauer thing is going to be interesting where he ends up. But again, I don't see him on I don't think it's a contender piece. I think it's a centerpiece to a rotation on a up and coming club, maybe. And I think you hear that. I've heard that from other people that he was a good teammate too. That he's helped other pitchers and worked along with them, and because he knows so much about pitching, that he's really helped other folks along, including like Shane Bieber, who's a pretty good pitcher himself.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know. Where do you think Sonny would end? What would be a good rotation for Sonny?
What would be a bad one?
Right. Yeah, good point.
I mean, I think it's just right.
Yeah, is he I think the Dodgers are going to make some moves. Like, it's not Shohei for the pitching. It's Shohei just to have that asset on your team. And then when he could pitch, that's another great thing. But they're going to just hitting next year is going to be, well worth it.
Right.
And
And we don't even know what his hitting looks like well, we do. We don't totally know what it looks like next year, focusing on it and not worrying about the pitching. So
yeah, Bauer to the Giants. Hey, I mean, stranger things have happened than that. Yeah, I don't think I think Burns and the Brewers, I agree with he was miserable after the arbitration. And I think it affected his performance at the beginning of the year. He just was sidetracked and probably didn't. It was just a little distraction for him. It didn't look like the Corbin Burns that you knew. And then at the end of the year, he did. Like he looked like Corbin Burns. I thought he had a hard time figuring out how to throw his cutter. His cutter wasn't as good last year. His backdoor cutter, I don't even remember, like until the end of the year, I don't remember him landing it that much. He lost faith in it because he wasn't like there were little tweaks, the little things he got away from, and he figured it out at the end of the year and then was back. So somebody like, I think he will get moved is my guess. And he's going to be somebody you're going to love to have on your team because that is a number one pitcher.
The whole arbitration setup, most fans don't appreciate how brutal that is for the pitchers.
Yeah.
I know first world problems we're arguing over millions of dollars, but the fact remains is this team all year long told you, throw this pitches here, do this, do that. And then you end up in a room across the table from these guys that are talking you down, saying why you're not worth a certain amount of money. And it's just, some guys just laugh and move on. They don't care because it's millions of dollars, but other guys, it leaves a bump, and it did with Burns.
Well, actually, even back in the day, if you Pedro's book, and I've heard Pedro talk about it separately, when he was going through arbitration, it was like, they're coming out with the numbers and all this stuff. And he's like, how can you judge my heart by this? How can you like, he took it very personally and he ended up moving on. Like, I think that happens all the time where people just get crapped on and they're like, wait, like I wasn't they basically, Burns said they blamed him for not doing well, for not going far, in the playoffs and all that. It was Burns' fault somehow. Like Corbin Burns' fault for anything is nuts. Like he's Corbin freaking Burns.
Right.
He's arguably, like, you can always make the argument he's the best starting pitcher in baseball. And he's one of those guys that you wouldn't get laughed at if you said that every year. Other Asian pitchers we have, I don't want to cut you off. Other Asian pitchers after we.
It's not really related to where we're going with this, but as the ARB goes, I will not say who, but several pitchers that I work with have hit their ARB years and they've progressed and they've known, even if I lose my case, I'm going to get a huge raise, which sounds all great, but they've been upset because they know now you're on this team that does not want to pay you that amount of money next year.
Right.
Even though by the market you're worth it, and they're going to let you go.
Yeah. And I think they'd be good to, like, their teams would go crazy. Like you can get a pretty good return for Corbin Burns. And if you don't, then you don't trade them, but you're gonna. Other Japanese Asian pitchers. Yeah. There's Imanaga, who is a pretty good piece. He's not at the level of Yamamoto, but if your team gets him, and if your team gets him, he's definitely somebody that you
should be solid.
Yeah, he should be a solid pitcher. I've watched him throw. Now he doesn't have elite velo. He's more like a 94-ish guy. But they, like in Japan, the thing that I love is we got scared away from throwing splitters here. And it's long, like it's because people are like, oh, it's going to hurt your arm, blah, blah, blah. And they just kept growing with it. And they have so many different versions of a splitter. Here we're like, oh, this guy throws a splitter. There it's like, well, this guy throws a gyro splitter. This guy throws this type. Like there's several types of splitters. As a matter of fact, talking to one of the Japanese press guys, he was like, can you get StatCast to change, it might have been Shohei's splitter, to a gyro splitter instead of just a splitter? Because he has two different splitters. And I'm like, he does. And people just they just call it a splitter. But there they have, it's like the national pitch. So when pitchers come over, hitters have seen it a little less. And it's a very effective pitch. And, there's other guys that will come over eventually. The biggest prize and the best pitcher on the freaking, like, without a doubt. And I would say this, the best prospect in baseball by far is Roki Sasaki, and he will break the whole world when he comes over here. 102-mile-an-hour fastball, a splitter that's absolutely disgusting, tall, big dude who's going to actually probably gain velo. There's nobody that is as good as that guy. And Yamamoto is like, he's more refined, but Sasaki's command's really good. And he's he just turned 21. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both of those guys are wild. It's just, we're going to have to wait longer for Roki, right?
Right. He's still several years off, but he breaks the whole, he's there isn't a comp because he's it's like a Strasburg, even more than that though. Like he's pitched on big stages. You don't have any concerns about that. Like he's the biggest prize you will ever have. He's Shohei. Like Shohei said that he's a better pitcher than he is. Like Roki Sasaki is.
Do you like him then, or what are you saying? Yeah, he's going to be awesome.
Strider or Roki Sasaki. I don't think there's a better pitcher than Roki Sasaki. Like as far as Strider, obviously I'm a little biased towards Strider. I love him as a pitcher, but Sasaki is on another planet as far as just pure everything, like everything.
So this year in the playoffs, if you could have pushed a button, would you have swapped Roki and Strider?
No, I don't think I would have, only because he needs experience to get there. Like I think Strider. And I'm glowing about him. I think I got to see arc. It. Yeah, right. I mean, there's nobody better. Like he's Jacob deGrom with a splitter. Like that's the level of stuff you're going to see. The command is there. He's going to get even better on it. He works hard. He's got the frame to fill out. He's like a pitching god. Like that's it's hard to even say. Paul Skeens, absolutely.
Yes.
So I had a debate about whether Paul Skeens, like I'm glowing on Sasaki, but let's not forget we have a guy, Paul Skeens, who also can touch 102 with really good command. Fastball isn't amazing as far as metrics, but his other stuff is and he's mentally, he's got that next level mental approach where he will break you.
Yeah, I'll just say this sounds contradictory, but he has a combination of being cerebral and appreciating what's going on, but also I think has room to learn how he can use his stuff even better.
All right. So the thing that strikes me about Skeens, and this is why I'm so high on that dude, is last year was the first year he pitched full time.
Mm-hmm.
So last year was the first year he was a full-time pitcher, and he nearly broke the all-time college record for K per nine. He had what was his ERA? It finished he won the college ERA title by a ton.
Mm-hmm. He broke it.
Yeah,
he broke it. Yeah.
Yeah, he also learns a lot. He asks a lot of questions. He wants to keep learning. He's he's a great teammate.
Decent stash.
Yeah, exactly. But a build too, dude is a monster, and we'll get at it there's nothing not to like about him. And I thought he's like a poor man's Roki Sasaki is where I'd put it, but not a very poor man. If he ends up being Garrett Cole plus some, that wouldn't surprise me. And that's
high praise.
Right. Like, how do you even say that with a straight face? But he's a better prospect than Cole was coming up. But Cole was a freaking awesome prospect coming up.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what to say about Paul Skeens other than
he will pitch in the majors this year.
He will pitch in the majors, and he will do, and he'll have his bumps like anybody, but you're not going to need a lot of patience with him. He does have a little bit of Cole's attitude too. Like, he's got that dismissal shit that he does. If he strikes you out, he lets you know about it. He's a competitor. He's a guy that you want, and you want to feed him as much as you can and take him, man, he is so good.
We'll see what they do with his workload this year. like the Marlins threw Yuri Perez down. Sorry, you're doing great, but we got to limit your innings, so you're demoted.
If DeGrom never plays another full season, is he a Hall of Famer? No, I don't think he is. If he plays a few more full seasons, he probably is, because he's the best pitcher. Like, he's a measuring stick that you have to use when you talk about pitchers.
Yeah.
So I interviewed Greg Maddux about him. He's like, yeah, he's like, he throws the ball where he wants to, and he throws 100, and he throws it like it blew Greg Maddox's mind how good Jacob deGrom was. So yes, Jacob deGrom is a Hall of Famer if he just gets the numbers behind it. Even if you get him to scratch the numbers, like get close to anything that gives you a good sample size, and he's a Hall of Famer, but he has to pitch some more seasons. Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks has long had some of the filthiest stuff, among the filthiest stuff in baseball, but also filthy command goes with it. He needs to put it together. And I thought he was weird last year. He hit some fastballs that, occasionally just dip down into 96, 98, and then again, throw 102, 103, 104. I think he just needs the right spot. Is he a full-time closer? I don't think so yet. I think he needs to prove it some and to get that confidence and to get everything put together. If he does, he has closer stuff. Like, nobody's going to say he doesn't have, ridiculous stuff. But would you trust him closing games, Fisher?
Not right now, no.
Yeah. But you see what I'm saying, right? You don't disagree that his stuff is really good.
No, just watch him.
Right. I have eyes. Yeah. I can tell.
Right. But you don't want your closer walking 5 guys per 9 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And
even though it's about run prevention, that's just too much for a closer.
Right. But I also think he's still toying with some of his pitch mixes. I don't feel like he's got it all put together yet. So I see him as a piece. If you added him to a team that has a great, and now I'm picturing the D-backs. If you get him with like Brent Strom, he may end up being like the most ridiculous thing that you've seen. Like if they can eliminate some thoughts with him and just get him pointed in the right direction. I love Jordan Hicks. I just think he's got to be on the right team and and everything's got to come together. He's a guy that could be a breakout guy. Like, he is a guy that I don't consider breaking out because his stuff is so good, but could he, he can have the numbers to back it up. What do you think about Fuji? I see a question on there, and Fuji is one of those guys talking about walking a lot of guys. He's got insane stuff and zero confidence with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it rubbed off a little bit in a bad way when he was with the A's and the way they used him, and all the connects and dots about how right. But you're out there doing your Fuji's thing, and it's like you need a certain treatment, and you could see it when he first started with the Orioles. You could really see it in his eyes, and it started to go away, to melt away, and so, he's got a ways to go.
He does. I think him with Rutschman, to me, is my favorite dude to watch catch, because he's so good with the pitchers. And I thought there were some things where I was watching him with Fuji confidence wise. He knew it too. He knew that Fuji was lacking confidence. It was really good, kind of helping with that. So he's like got 10 stuff and 2 command, 80 stuff and 20, 30 command. And I think if he can get it to 40 command, if he gets average command, he's so good. Like, you see it. He threw a sweeper last year, was nasty. Fastball touching 103, splitter, 94 mile an hour splitter. Like, yeah, he's good. How much would Yamamoto get? Like they're talking above 200 million. Yamamoto is, like, as far as the contract posting fees and all that shit. DeGrom moving to a closer role. No, you can't do that to Jacob deGrom. No one would ever get a hit, though. You'd close out every game, like, if that's what you want. I don't know.
What's the healthiest thing? How do you how does he throw the most important pitches? You know, which role is it? So I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah.
But you never know. You never know. He'd have to obviously probably be the one to bring it up.
Right.
And we've never heard him make any kind of buzz like that, right?
No, he's not.
So
I think that's
it's hard to imagine. No one's saying he wouldn't excel at it as long as he could pitch, but
yeah, he's a pitcher. He's the best, like he pitch for pitch, the best pitcher on the planet. The problem is we haven't seen a lot of those pitches recently, and it's not his fault. He's trying, like his body breaks down, and that's hopefully he gets to a streak where it doesn't, and we all get to see Jacob deGrom because he's like this mythical creature at this point.
Whose fault is it?
I don't know. Like it's whoever made him. Like
I didn't know we were going to get into all that.
Yeah, it's a very theoretical discussions on
whose fault.
Yeah. And I don't think you take it like it's just maybe it's bad luck, maybe it's not, but it's Jacob the freaking Grom, and he can do anything he wants to do. What recent retired pitcher is the next Stephen Vogt type coach? Ooh.
Gabe Kapler. Oh wait, sorry.
Retired pitcher.
Yeah. Oh, pitcher.
Yeah.
He just
like Greinke hasn't retired yet, right? Like so he's
not Greinke.
He's not going to be a pitching coach. He's going to be sitting there playing golf or something. Is what Zach Greinke will be doing. He will not be coaching. Wainwright can do anything he wants. Like Waino's going to make more money than God in, calling games and stuff. Like he's great, but he's a guy that could do well with pitchers too, because he's got that personality. Kyle Hendricks, future pitching coach. Yeah. I mean, maybe, I don't know. He's a smart dude, clearly, but I don't like maybe. I like guys that get the most out of their talent as opposed to a naturally talented guy being a pitching coach. And Garrett Cole, though, I say that Garrett Cole would be a great pitching coach. Garrett Cole understands pitching really well and is very, very smart and would be a great pitching coach. And was my biggest mistake on my top 10 list last year was not having him on it. You
couldn't put him there based on the 2022. You couldn't put him there.
And now he proved everybody wrong, which is what he should do. Does anybody else have a 90-mile-an-hour fastball? Yes, a lot of people fastball, slider, changeup, but slider and change. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like DeGrom's slider and changeup, it's crazy. Dick Mountain, Dick Mountain is a pitching coach. I mean, if he ever doesn't play, like he may be pitching till he's 70 something. But he could be he's a smart pitcher too. I wonder if he would excel on some things. Like you also have to be able to handle guys with ridiculous stuff. Maybe he can. Like, I mean, I think he's a good dude and hyper competitive dude, but also really, really, really good guy. So maybe, I mean, he could do that. Breaking news: Ohtani to the Rangers. They're gonna have to spend a lot of money to get that. I think it's going to be a bigger market team than that. When is Sasaki 2027 posted? Like, I think that
sounds right. Maybe give or take a year, or take a year.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Felt like forever, whatever it was,
Yeah, like he's again. We're going to have a whole different discussion when it comes to Sasaki coming to the major leagues, because that's something that will break baseball. It's like having Shohei as a free agent.
Yeah, even just watching WBC, people didn't get the real feel of how good he is. Like you
did on again. I thought that last pitch put the stamp on. Like it was like, I can do anything, and I'm the greatest player in baseball, and everybody's going to worship me now because I just this is me versus you and
Roki.
Hey. Oh, I'm sorry.
Roki.
No, Roki we didn't say. Yeah, no. Yeah. No, Roki, we haven't seen. Like I've seen
No,
it
I'm saying we
watching
saw him,
Jap. Right.
right,
No, you
right,
haven't. You're right.
right. And
100%
every
right.
time we were watching, we're like, this guy's going to be amazing. And like, okay, I mean, he looks okay, but he's kind of, doesn't look that great. I'm like, dude, this is how old he is. Watch the pitches, and here's the
Yeah, he's
track
still throwing
record. So,
100 with even in then he was still throwing,
right.
over 100. But
Right.
you
And
watch him long enough. Yeah.
here's how he's working in the WBC. He won't work like that in regular games and all that stuff. So
and plus if you're looking at something where the dude literally threw a perfect game and almost a back-to-back perfect game the next time out, that tells you enough about like it sounds stupid. It's never happened before. And it is that's what Roki Sasaki is. He's stupid talented.
you're not talking about Aroldis Chapman much. How come?
I have a problem figure like, do you sign him as a big team?
We were talking about him with the Rangers where they're like, well, we have to use him. He's sitting there. And
he's Aroldis Chapman.
He's Aroldis Chapman. You got to do it. But man, you just like, okay, I'm going to put him in and I'm just going to walk away. I can't watch this,
Right. And he hasn't lost his stuff.
No.
He's lost his command every once in a while where it's either you get good Aroldis Chapman it seemed like when there's less pressure. And then when there's more pressure, you almost saw it in his face. Right. That he just had this look, and it's Aroldis Chapman. He's been he should never have that. It's Aroldis Chapman. Dude's a freaking he's throwing absolute flames.
It's crazy at that age to throw that fast. It's insane.
Right. And
not very far up anybody's list. I don't blame anybody, but me personally, I'm intrigued to see what happens with Liam Hendriks.
I was going to say Liam Hendriks.
We know he's not going to pitch until maybe it's Liam. So I'm not going to tell you he's not going to pitch at the end of next year, no matter what they all say. But there's now precedent about, guys who are going to go through Tommy John, where a team says, okay, here's a 2-year deal. We'll pay for your rehab, all that stuff. And, he can get some money out there and find a good team to work toward. So I'm not too upset it played out that way with the White Sox. They couldn't have him hog a roster spot and all that. So.
Yeah, and they seem like a cursed organization.
God, yeah.
And I'd like to see him eventually on a contender. He's the man. Like he's a psychopath. Great dude. Great dude. I think everybody's realizing now what a great dude he is, but he's always been that great dude.
Yeah, it's funny. This question's about coaching. I don't really think about him coaching, but I mean, he is 35 or whatever he is now. So just curious what a guy like that with that energy, if that could funnel into coaching. I'll tell you just from us going back and forth how much he's learned. He already knew a lot about pitching, but how much he's learned on top of that and his hunger for more. And I'm just curious how that would play out.
Well, he's also one of those guys, when I interviewed him talking about your stuff, it was made a huge difference in his approach. Like he all of a sudden had a confidence level. He's always had it unlocked another level of his confidence.
It did.
And Liam with pitching with confidence just absolutely shoves the ball down people's throats.
Right. So you're Paul Skeens. You already know you're good. And here comes Liam Hendriks over, Coach Hendriks, and he's waving Codify maps. And he's like, this is where you need to pitch. And you're going to find Jesus or whatever the term is really quickly. You're going to believe it. He believes it. And you go do it and it works. And who knows what that could turn into. Yeah.
And Skeens, fired up Skeens is
yikes.
That big man, fired up is a sight. Like, dude is fantastic. Like I told you, he was in the middle of me talking with him. I was sitting there going, I was trying to figure out what his ceiling was. And I was like, I'm having a hard time with this because you don't get guys that have thrown that few innings that have that good stuff. And he has a great understanding of what he does. And he's still scratching the surface of his understanding of what he does.
He is.
Like he knows it, but he still can get even better at it. There's so many ways that he can improve. Madison Bumgarner. I don't want Madison Bumgarner coaching my team. Great intensity, totally correct. But I think he'd have a problem with there's a reason he and Strom didn't get along. Right. And Strom is, a crusty 70-plus-year-old vet who knows, been around everything and knows everything. And trying to make adjustments to Bumgarner was not the easiest thing to do.
Strom listens though too.
Yeah.
Even though he's the Grizzly old school guy, which is an interesting combo because there's not a lot of guys out there like that.
Right. He's
Bumgarner. I don't know. He's not.
Yeah, I worry about that. Like, I like his intensity and is obviously you can make the argument, and I don't even know it's much of an argument. Best postseason pitcher of all time. Like, you can get there.
It was a crazy run. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but I don't know if I want him as my coach. I think Liam understands a little bit. He's more open-minded, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
Like that's just my perception. Again, I may be totally slandering Bumgarner and Mad Bum until I talk to him, but I also get the feel like it's I know what I'm doing type of guy.
Speaking of injured free agents, Kershaw, right?
Yes.
And there's another guy.
Said late summer,
right?
But shoulders are tricky.
Right. So you think the Dodgers will throw a little bit of money 2 year? It's hard to see him going somewhere.
It's hard to see him going somewhere, but I mean, Texas. This would be the other alternative. I don't know. Like I just don't know. I don't know what. Like, I can't see him playing anywhere other than LA, but he might. Like, I couldn't see a lot of people playing other until they do. It'd be a. I don't know, and I'm not guaranteed he's coming back fully. I think it's going to take longer than it. Just shoulders. It's just not that easy.
Right.
We've gotten better at it, but it's not like Tommy John where we have a timetable.
Right. Yeah, it's a tie for the record. The quietest offseason of all time. Nobody's going to sign it anytime soon if it's a big.
It would be funny if someone did though. Well, like while we're talking.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool.
Eduardo Rodriguez, we didn't talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a piece to. He's a good piece to a lot of teams.
Who was it? Dodger? Who'd they try to trade him to and he turned it down? I can't remember now. Remember that?
Yeah.
The deadline, he had a.
Yeah.
I can't.
He turned it down because his family was in Detroit and didn't want to do it.
Right.
I would have done it.
Well,
that's another team that's so. All right, so if we're talking about guys under the radar, and I don't know how under the radar they are, but give me all the Reese Olsons and Tarek Skubals in the world, and I will show you a good pitching staff. Tarek Skubal is a guy that would not surprise me ever if he's going to win to win a Cy Young award or whatever like that. That he's got that type of stuff, and I thought Reese Olson's, especially a slider, but Reese has some really good pieces. That's a bad joke.
I was just waiting.
Yeah. But I think that they have the foundation to something there. And it frightened me in the middle of the season. I'm like, is everybody seeing this about like Detroit's pitching staff is like all of a sudden, like they are not a hopeless team. As a matter of fact, they're a team with a great core of pitchers. I love those guys.
Right. I mean, they finished in second place. I know it's the Central, but like people weren't believing me. I'm like, they finished in second place in their division.
Yeah. Like huge credit for that. Like, I think he's great. Cutter Crawford, Julio Urias, will he ever pitch in the major leagues again? I say no. I don't think Julio Urias ever gets anybody signing him. Fool me once.
It's certainly not super likely.
Yeah, I'm not signing him, and I don't care if it's like you. That's somebody who's definitely got the. I mean, there's definitely some major issues there that you don't want associated with your team, despite him being obviously a really good pitcher. But then again, like Felipe Vasquez was a really good pitcher too, and can't even mention his name without lightning striking you.
Right.
But was a top tier closer. Nobody will ever pick him up once he gets out of prison. That's not happening. Cutter Crawford is an interesting dude because like he's everything from his mechanics to like what do your charts say about Cutter Crawford? Do you know offhand? I don't want to make put him on the spot.
I don't know offhand. I'd have to look.
Okay. But he's got like he had some really good games. I think he's got the potential to be a solid, at least a solid middle rotation guy. Like I like Cutter Crawford.
No, I mean there's so many pitchers to watch when they play, but he's a guy I would stop when panning through and go, oh, it's Cutter Crawford. Let's watch him for a bit, you know?
Yeah. And where does Stroman end up? Literally no idea. Like
somewhere with good infielders, you know?
Right.
He's going to keep you busy.
Yeah, like I mean, he's a good piece for a lot of different rotations.
Yeah, put him on the Giants.
Right. I mean, like he could pitch anywhere. Like Stroh's definitely a good piece and a valuable pitcher. And I agree with you. Like if you have a good infield, yeah, he's a ground ball machine. He's one of those guys.
Well, imagine you got him and Webb on the same team. You're like, I'm going to go spend a little bit of extra money and
really
get even better
good
defense behind him. Yeah.
Really good point. And I wonder if they've actually thought about that because I agree with you 100%. And the thing with Stroh is he's also a really good fielder himself. That he is like literally having an extra.
You have 5 infielders. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. He's takes pride in his fielding. And it's a great.
Yeah. It was a kind of a vintage Stroman move to walk away and try to get some more. He believes in himself and he's going to take every chance he can to bet on himself. And he's usually right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like you can't criticize a dude for having that. Like the confidence, the reason why he is what he is. Like,
right,
gotta have that.
Right.
Yeah, like leaving the Cubs. Like I thought Chicago was a great fit for him too. I mean that it does suck, but they also weren't working anything out. So I like him as a fit for the city of Chicago. I think he was really good there as far as like doing things in the community and stuff. Yeah. I mean, Cy Stroh through mid-April, he was, I don't know if it's hard. Like, I know he would never count himself out of winning a Cy Young award. That's his confidence level. Although talking to him, I said, so like this was back when he was on the Mets. Like, you're saying like you can win a Cy Young over Jacob deGrom. I was like, no, Jacob deGrom's the best pitcher of all time. I can never win a Cy Young over Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom's out there. Are we missing anybody else? Any pitchers that we're missing?
Well, we only said his name, Jordan Montgomery, right?
Yeah. And Flaherty multi-year deal. Flaherty is an interesting character. Like, and I also see the Chapman to the A's and traded at the deadline. Somebody might do that again. Like you pick up Chapman, has a good year, and then you trade him for some pieces, and you end up with Cole Reagans for.
No, the A's have already traded away too many Chapmans.
Yeah,
let's not do it again. But yes, that was the A's mode for a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean you get pieces, right, and then you trade them away, and you get better pieces, hopefully.
Well, so Flaherty and Gio to the same team. Flying both low, they're buddies.
Hey, did they play high school ball together?
Hey, with some other guy.
Never heard that story.
Yeah.
Some other dude was.
Actually, it's funny. Yeah, you go to a game and most people haven't, so it's one of those fun trivia questions.
Yeah.
Answer for them ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean we'd welcome them on the Braves here. That would be fine.
Lorenzen,
all of them.
Michael Wacha, I think, is a free agent.
I like Wacha. Like I think Wacha is a good piece to a team too. One of the best changeups among starting pitchers. Yeah, I don't have I think he's a very valuable piece.
Who's the best free agent?
Is Lugo on there?
Lugo should be somewhere on there. He's a free agent.
Yeah. And I think Lugo again wanted to start, gets a chance to start, and showed flashes of being a good starter. Like he's good. Clevenger. Sevy, so Sevy showed some
Mm, right.
flashes of old Sevy, and then
Old
flashes
Sevy.
of
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I still think it's in there. I love Sevy. A good Sevy should always be in baseball because he pitches with a lot of emotion, really good stuff. And can he get there again? Yeah, he probably can. How old is he?
Probably younger than I think, just because he seems like he's been around forever.
Yeah. Any
He's
Lugo
20.
type?
Oh, he's not even 30 yet.
Yeah, so he can easily get
That's what I mean.
yeah, I would take Sevy on my team. You just need a good coach, and he needs to physically be there. Alek Manoah thoughts. I saw flashes of his slider being back where it was at times, and then he lost it. I think he's just got to put it back together. Manoah's a competitor, good, good pitcher, wants to he can be elite. I don't see any reason why having a bump in the road is a bad thing. And I think if he goes back and puts it and works on what was causing him problems, including the shape of his pitches. I thought he lost the shape of his pitches at times last year. And it was obvious. There are guys when it's obvious to me that I'm watching them going, they're either on or off. And he was one of them where I'd sit there and go, I'd see his slider on and I'd be like, all right, he's going to have a good game. And then when it would be off, Gallen, I thought same thing. Gallen, I could tell when his knuckle curve was that really sharp knuckle curve,
right.
He was going to be really impossible to hit. And when it wasn't, it was going to be a long day for him because he'd have to rely on something else. And nothing was, I still don't think anything's as good as I think his knuckle curve is his best pitch. It's almost like if Bieber didn't have his knuckle curve, he needs it. When Bieber has his knuckle curve, which is almost every time, he's really tough. Any other Lugo type stories? We talked about Michael King, who is better than, I think he's got a potential ace type stuff. And as a guy that was, in that similar type role that is breaking out. Are there other people in those? Matt Brash could be a starter. Matt Brash was a starter and they moved him because of his command and he just wasn't flourishing in the starting role. But if you told me that Matt Brash would be a starter for somebody, he could easily, but they need him to be a starter on that team. Not right now, they don't. But Matt Brash could be a starter and could be in that role and could be an elite starter if he just puts everything together and because his stuff is cartoon-like. So he was originally brought up to be a starter, not a setup guy.
Well, Manaea's not really a free agent, but he might be.
Yeah, right.
I didn't see any news on that yet, but
he was another guy that had flashes of really good stuff, and then I thought he struggled for a large part of the season. But his stuff plays so unusually.
Just changed his role constantly.
Yeah, it was really tough to be good.
Yep. Yeah, so we already talked about him, and Nick Martinez can start for somebody if that's what they want.
Right. Yeah, I don't even view. I guess Manaea could be that role because he didn't have that starter role for a large part, but he is a starting pitcher. No doubt. Is there anybody else who's really shining in those roles that could? Brash was the first guy to come to mind for me.
Yeah. You don't usually see that direction. So.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But it wouldn't see it. Top available middle relief pitchers.
How about even closers? Are we leaving anybody? You got Hader and Chapman. Are we forgetting any decent closers that are free agents? I don't think we are.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No. So
Hader is going to get a lot.
Yeah. It's the perfect time for him to be asking for this.
Yeah, and he's a perfect piece for a lot of teams that just want somebody at the end of the game to the Dodgers probably have some guys that could pitch in multiple roles that could actually move to be starters that weren't. Rebbia, one of the funniest interviews.
Yeah, same thing. some 10 starts or whatever he made, and
Yeah.
30 relief appearances. Like crazy.
Yeah. Kirby Yates back on the market. There's always room for Kirby Yates on some team.
Right.
He's just one of those guys that's always going to find a spot, and it's kind of like the Will Smith thing, or Brad Hand is back too, right? Braves didn't like Hand is one of those guys that's always going to get picked up by somebody, and is always going to have a role in baseball till he's like 50.
The only other guy I have on this list that I thought you would bring up was just for kicks was Kenta Maeda.
I like Kenta Maeda. Yeah,
I know you do. That's what I thought you'd say.
Yeah, like, so that's a guy I'd spend some. Like, he's valuable.
Yeah, I mean, league average, right?
Yeah,
eats some innings up.
And there are games where he was, back to unhittable stuff. His fastball velo isn't great, but his stuff plays really well. He knows how to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a good piece to several teams. Like, he's somebody that could fit in, not as a number one, but as a if you had him as a 3 or 4, it's pretty good.
Sure,
I would take him on my team.
Probably not too expensive.
Yeah. Ryu.
Oh, Ryu as well.
Yeah. Like Ryu, again, flashes of being good. He also knows how to pitch, knows how to keep people off balance. He's a good guy. Like, I view him kind of in a similar type role. He's not a 1, but he's somebody that could be a valuable part of a lot of teams and eat up innings and stuff. What do you think about Ryu? You don't seem that high on him. I'm looking at your face.
Not that high on him.
Okay.
Yeah. But because with him, I fall into that trap of, just like we said with Kirby Yates, of remembering too much about how he used to be rather than how he is right now. So,
yeah. But can he get back there? Like, coming off injuries and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know.
How old is he? Let me look real quick. Because he'll be 37 during spring training.
Yeah,
that's kind of why I'm not so sure.
Right. Yeah, I can see. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I also think that he could be a piece of a puzzle, but he's not going to change somebody's season. To me.
Well, a good question is, what does it take to get him?
Probably not that much.
Who are the best pitchers that you just have to invite to spring training? That there's a whole layer.
I would invite him. I'd like, without a doubt.
Right. Is that all it takes for the right team? Do they have to? I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying there's a layer of pitchers that all you have to do is be one of the right teams and invite them, and they're going to show up. And then you're good. Then you just see how they do yourself.
If you had a bet, who signs Blake Snell? The Dodgers have stupid money sitting around, and it's not we don't even know when May's going to be back, right?
Mm-mm.
And I mean, Bueller should be back.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be somebody with a crap ton of money.
So, right. Probably someone kind of like the Yankees with Rodon, who can afford to take a stab at it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't destroy your franchise.
Could he go to the Yankees? I mean, is he somebody that could?
Yeah.
He is somebody that could go to the Yankees, probably. Yeah. I don't think New York's going to get to him very much. He's just Blake Snell. He's marches to the beat of his own drummer. So, all right. So that is literally what I was thinking of with the Braves when the Braves invited Felix Hernandez and Cole Hamels, when we were talking about Ryu and those guys. Like, that is a role where I could see that happening. Like, you invite them in and they may break with the team, and maybe he's got enough to take him through. Giants keep threatening Snell to the Giants. I I don't know. I see him on a bigger. I think somebody's gonna have to spend a crap ton. They would have to spend a crap ton to get him. And is that where they want to bet? I think you have to be willing to accept that maybe he's, yeah. A team with a deep bullpen too. Like he's not going to give you very deep in the games. He's already proved like he can get you through 6. So I think somebody, yeah. I mean, that's why I'm thinking like the Dodgers always seem to have arms everywhere. Yankees had a bunch of arms. I don't think the Mets are going to spend for him necessarily. I think they will spend for Yamamoto. Maybe if they spend for him and Yamamoto, do they still have enough?
They have Quintana is back, right? David Peterson.
Yeah. And Peterson put it together a little bit at the end of the year. He had a little streak.
I'm just saying you already don't get too lefty.
Yeah.
Oriented. Right.
Yeah. I don't know if that's where he goes.
No.
Snell's curve, is that an equals Kershaw's curve? Snell's curve is one of the most unhittable pitches in baseball. So I think actually at this point, Snell's curve is more unhittable than Kershaw. Like Kershaw doesn't throw his curve as much as Snell throws his curve. And the whiffs on Snell's curve, what is he, 50 something? Wasn't he over 50%? Around 50%? Over 50%? Where'd he end up? It was high because he was like that. He's like that on like all of his secondary pitches. His changeup, his slider, and his curveball all had ridiculous whiff rates.
It's better now. He's got a ways to go to historically say it was better, but
oh yeah, well, wait, yeah. If we're talking about like historically, there's
right. I don't know what 2 equal signs meant. So
yeah,
it may have been historically.
Yeah, yeah. Like if we're talking about historically now, like I'm not putting it. There's no
right now. Right now, I agree with you. Right.
Yeah, like he's electric. Snell stuff is electric. Snell to the Cards. If the Cards are going to spend a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of money to get Blake Snell. And do you view him as a 1 or is he a 2?
Snell?
Yeah, he's a 1, right? He's the Cy Young Award winner.
See him pitch last year?
Like I saw an article where somebody who I vehemently disagreed with had him as a 3. I'm like, it's Blake Snell. He's the Cy Young Award winner. He's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. You could make the argument he was the best starting pitcher in baseball last year. He's not otherwise there's no such thing as a 1 if he's not.
He's a 1. He's a 1.
Yeah. Now he doesn't have the innings that you'd like, but not a lot of guys do.
You want to flip me the ball, go 6, give up 1 run over and over and over again? You're a 1.
Right. Like, I mean, Garrett Cole is the clearest, like he's an old school ace and is a old school number 1. Blake Snell is a new school number 1, if you want to talk about. Does Blake Snell go with Gary Sanchez? Yeah, Gary Sanchez really did help him there.
Right. What I was going to bring up is the Cardinals catching situation. And
yeah.
In the old days, people would come there to pitch to Yachty and
and
all
that's
that.
not quite the same
anymore.
Right. Yeah. And the Braves should sign Max Fried to forever because Max Fried's awesome. And you notice that, like I thought, him having that little bump at the end of the year with his, various little blisters and all that was really put an end to the Braves season because when Max Fried is on, and he's amazing, and he's a postseason pitcher. He's when he hits his spots and he's on. He did that when they won the World Series. He is great. Like Max Fried is a freaking stud. Does he want to stay with the Braves? Max Fried wants to stay with the Braves. Why would he not?
What indication? Have we seen any indication he didn't?
No, he is the Brave. Like Strider worships Max Fried. Like Strider thinks Max Fried is the greatest thing on earth. So Fried is that guy. I think he loves the Braves. The Braves love him.
Who's the better pitcher healthy next year?
Between Fried and Strider?
You could say it.
All right. So like pure pitcher, Fried is a pure pitcher. Fried is a pitcher. He's a pitcher with really good stuff and could win a Cy Young any given year. Max Fried is a pitcher's pitcher type guy. Mm-hmm. Spencer Strider is one of the most electric pitchers in baseball. and is a strikeout machine. I don't care what his ERA is. I really don't. But at some point, it is nice not to give up runs. I mean,
Game 7.
I'll take either. But I think Fried, I've seen more out of Fried in big games. That the issue with Strider is occasional lapses where guys sell out against him and he and they're just, I mean, it's not even him necessarily even missing anything. It's like they're selling out for a fastball. I get it. Fried has more weapons. So yeah, I mean, that's where my head's at. I'd probably slight advantage towards Fried, but Strider could put up absolutely gaudy numbers.
No doubt.
And Strider can you imagine Strider as a closer would be like screw that. Like people would just give up. They're just game over. But Strider as a starter, same thing. He goes deep into games. Strider is in a handful of the best pitchers in baseball, maybe 2 hands full. Yeah, bad. I tried to make that point all season about his bad at ball luck and all that. And everybody, for some reason, people want to hate on Strider, and it's not I don't have any of that because Strider is with my eyes, I see what he does, and the dude is freaking fantastic. Yeah, right. You can pitch both of them. You start Fried and end the game with Strider and use them both in Game 7. That would be a good thing to do. Oh, interesting. Max would come back to the dugout between innings and ask what a spin rate was, and he had some big fan of both of those guys. And it's really hard to trivia thing is Cole Hamels was scheduled to throw a bullpen at my house, and it got canceled because he got injured that preseason, and I really wanted him to come over because he's just a good-looking man. Like, my wife would have been very excited. But no, I would love, like, it was almost happened. I've had Peter Moylan has thrown a bullpen at my house, and Cole Hamels was supposed to and didn't. Aaron Nola is fantastic. Going to give you innings. Going to go to a team that needs a piece. Like Aaron Nola is I selfishly, because I get to watch being in Atlanta, watching more Nola, it's a good piece of that. That would be a good guy to eat up some innings on the Braves, but he's a good guy on any team. Might end up on the Dodgers, but I also have a hard time seeing him leaving. Like, he seems like a Philly. Like, what wouldn't the Phillies like about him?
Oh, to be able to lock a guy up and you're going to make 32 starts and you're
right,
6 or 7 innings every time you go out there. I mean,
yeah. I mean, who's a
better bet to do that next year?
No,
I mean, there's not many guys if they're
right. Like not on the market. I mean, Garrett Cole is one of those guys that Logan Webb has been really good about hitting his innings and being that guy. Like Logan Webb is way underrated to me.
Way underrated.
Yeah.
Giants stole that extension, and it was good for him. So
yeah. So those are the type of guys that I would put him along with.
No, Soroka. Gosh.
Does anyone trade for Mike Trout? Yeah, if he's available, I mean, should be. They should just start over and get in a big haul for Mike Trout. I would.
Well, what would they get?
I don't know. Are there any teams available?
I don't know. Still owed a boatload of money, so I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying that you just ruled out a lot of teams.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of teams.
Right. I mean, he's Mike Trout. He will go if he will command a lot of prospects. If they want to rebuild, that's a good way to start, and it's a good way for another team to solidify that. Hopefully, get a healthy Mike Trout, and that would be huge. All right, we'll take one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Quick, I see the Mike Soroka. Yeah, the Mike Soroka thing sucks. I mean, that's rotten for him. He's a good dude, and
Mm-hmm.
like we're talking about all these other pitchers, and Mike Soroka was the ace. Like he was the guy that was the ace
He
of
was
that.
the guy, right?
Yeah, over Max Fried and over Spencer Strider, and now and he's still young. Like knows how to pitch. Let's try to
Trout at 1B.
Yeah. I mean, it could happen, but he's still pretty fast. I mean, it would be. I don't know what his injuries are, and I mean, sometimes you just get injured. Like you can get injured doing almost anything. I don't know that it's all that. I mean, he plays hard. Don't know. Do you think who's he? Do you think he can get a good contract after this
Lorenzen.
year? Oh. Yeah. Where do you view Lorenzen? Like, I have a hard time with him.
See, there's another guy, right? Right.
Yeah.
Another guy, like, what's his role? You know?
I like, obviously there are times where there are times where he has no hit stuff. But do you view him as that type of guy all the time? No, I don't.
No.
But I also think he pitched really well this year. I mean, is there more there for him? Probably. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think somebody would pay him. Like he's a guy that would, he's a good, solid pitcher. He's not going to carry a staff to me, but
he looks like he could.
Right. He physically looks like he could physically carry a staff. That dude is about as jacked as anybody. He's absolutely could physically carry a staff. I just don't know pitching wise. Like he's, I like his changeup. He's a good pitcher. What can he get as a contract? I mean, I think he can get a pretty good, even good pitchers get big contracts. Like that's just the thing. Good pitchers that are healthy get good contracts. So
I can't remember. I can't attribute it to anyone because I don't remember where I read it. But there were rumblings of MLB making more rule changes to continue to kind of modify what we see. For instance, only allowing 12 pitchers on a roster, and maybe lengthening the time that they have to spend down. Maybe getting rid of this 10-day thing and for certain.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. Oh yeah, Ty Walker, another interesting pitcher, because there are times where he looks really good too, and I think he's got some good pieces to the puzzle. I don't know what happened. I was surprised that they didn't use him, and he did struggle at times, but he also at times looked really good.
I think Lopez has to go with Gio, right?
Right. They're at the hip. So, like they're actually the same person, and I'm pretty sure Reynaldo Lopez is an anagram for Lucas Giolito somehow.
I'm sure they're negotiating together.
Yeah. Right. But he's a good pitcher. Like he's definitely a good piece to a lot of bullpens. Could return to Cleveland, could be elsewhere, but there is one of those guys that could be that is a powerful arm in anybody's bullpen and is a good piece to a lot of bullpens. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him get a good contract and be a monster pitcher in some.
What I see, Lance Lynn declined, right? Is he?
Yeah, he is.
He's a free agent. I mean, he's not on these lists, but he's a free agent, right?
Yeah, I believe so. That's a tough call. Like he showed very small signs of being incredibly dominant, surrounded by a lot of not dominant at all and getting absolutely lit up. That 16K game was the most unusual, like out of the blue, weird game. Like this is Lance Lynn striking out 16 hitters.
That's crazy.
Right, and then went back to having some bad games and stuff. But
many homers though. God.
Yeah, right. I mean, you lose a little bit, and you live the way he does with his fastball, and you lose it, and all of a sudden you're giving up homers versus getting the ball by people. All right. Well, when we wrap it up, and we'll do another one, sometime soon. These are always fun and good questions, guys.
Yeah, thanks for your input.
Yep.
Saw some good questions.
Yeah, absolutely. See y'all. Thanks for coming. we'll
Have a
do
good
it
one.
again, and maybe even I'll suggest other topics, or we can even, review some free agent signings once they happen.
Mm-hmm. Take care.
Cool. Take care, guys.
See ya.